Funit lankan besanya.
Funit lankan tuan.
Funit lankan dejaka.
Funit lankan besanya.
Funit lankan dejaka.
Funit lankan besanya.
Funit lankan kama.
MAIZE Cropping Guide, 4R Nutrient Management and Best Agronomic Practices. 4R Nutrient Stewardship is a framework developed to communicate the right way to ensure sustainable and efficient use of fertilizer, based on 4 principles, namely applying the right source of fertilizers, at the right rate, at the right time, and in the right place. Effective fertilizer use, as guided by 4R Nutrient Stewardship, is important for developing sustainable cropping systems that support improved food production, increased income for farmers, and enhancement and maintenance of soil fertility. More and better quality maize can be produced with fertilizers. The fertility of soils, which has been largely overexploited, can also be restored with fertilizers. Correct management of fertilizers based on the 4 R's can therefore result in better social, economic, and environmental outcomes for farms, villages, communities, and entire countries in Africa. Right source refers to applying the correct fertilizer that provides crops with the nutrients required for good growth and high yields. Different crops have different nutrient requirements. Different fertilizers also provide nutrients in different proportions. Matching the crop's nutrient uptake requirements with the fertilizer that supplies the right mix and proportions of required nutrients ensures that the right source is achieved. Right rate refers to supplying growing plants with the right amount of nutrients for healthy growth and development. Different crops require different quantities of nutrients for healthy growth and development. The quantity of nutrients required by a particular crop also depends on current soil fertility and the crop yield target. Nutrient requirements will increase as soil fertility decreases. Similarly, as crop yields targets increase, the quantity of nutrients required to support those targets also increases. Right time refers to matching nutrients application with the timing of plant nutrient uptake. Most crops take up nutrients slowly during the early stages of growth, but the rate of nutrient uptake increases as crops develop. Fertilizer applications timed to match periods of high plant nutrient uptake ensure efficient uptake of applied nutrients. Right place refers to adding nutrients to the soil at a place where the crops can easily access them. Different crops have different rooting characteristics, and this is an influence on their ability to efficiently access and take up applied nutrients. The right placement of fertilizer for a particular crop should be selected to match a crop's rooting characteristics and other aspects such as planting density and tillage system. The right placement method will ensure reduced nutrient losses. Best crop management practices, coupled with the 4 R's, will boost crop productivity amongst farmers.
The whole essence of this 4R learning is to take farmers through right from land preparation to harvesting, and to also take them through the best agronomic practices that will lead to getting the required yield of the maize. So we have done the maize planting, and we have also taken 2 plots to demonstrate the use of fertilizer as against farmer practice, where majority of them do not apply fertilizer. And not only fertilizer, but the right time and the right method of application of the fertilizer is what we aim at demonstrating to the farmers in this field, because this is a learning field where every activity that we want to carry on will involve the farmer participation. This is the best way they can take up the technology that 4R is promoting to enhance crop yields in this district.
4 are good agronomic practices for maize: field selection and land preparation. Maize performs best on deep, fertile, and well-drained loamy soils. For good maize yields, avoid fields that are easily flooded or rocky fields with shallow soils, and avoid shady trees. Start field preparation 2 to 3 weeks before the start of the rainy season, from mid-May to early June. Before plowing and harrowing, first clear any overgrown weeds, shrubs, and stumps. Plow the field uniformly to a depth of 20 to 30 centimeters after the field is cleared of shrubs and stumps. Plowing should be done when the soil moisture level is low to minimize soil compaction. After plowing, harrow the field uniformly by breaking up any large soil clods that may be present. Good plowing and harrowing practices will help to control weeds, kill some insect pests, and also make it easier to incorporate manure, apply fertilizer, and plant seeds. Seed selection and seed rate. For best maize yields, plant newly purchased certified seeds from an approved dealer instead of recycling old grain. Using certified seeds ensures good germination and high yields. Certified seeds usually contain a green tag with details on variety name, maturity period, germination percentage, and expiry date. Carefully read the instructions on the green tag to ensure that purchased seeds are suitable for your region and are not expired. Using high-quality seeds that are adapted to local environment is crucial for good germination and high yields. Certified seeds can be obtained from agro-input dealers such as Wumpini Agrochemicals, Garnoma, Vansado, Sasek, Antica, and Simple Prince. Where farmers have no access to new certified seeds, farmers can recycle available open pollinated varieties (OPV) from their fields such as Obatampa, Omankwa, and Abontim. However, recycled OPV seeds should not be used for more than 2 years. Hybrid seed varieties such as Pan 53 and Pan 12 should not be recycled, and new seeds should be obtained each year. The recommended seed rate for good maize yields is about 20 to 25 kilograms per hectare. Based on the size of your farm and the recommended seed rate, acquire enough quantities of seeds in consultation with your agro dealer.
We are again at Killing to demonstrate to farmers the beneficial use of fertilizer on maize crops. So we have come with maize variety called Sanzalsima. This Sanzalsima is an OPV variety that was also released by SARI. It is high yielding and is the medium variety. Want to introduce the maize variety to the farmers here and to also take them through the best agronomic practices that will lead to getting the required yield of the maize.
For area dankala mote klangu ba ko tije kabo katangaya to lambelang ba for area wandangala ti mun kama kurwa ke yonko kan ngaga mun ma kun kama ya ikafa to ya mun kan ke ne tirpa ngam ban ko pa kam ablan kama ga ban ke ko to pa ke jitin yuriya ede yile ke pa njoti gba ya no babu tije kaya ka kala ko to fala.
The 4R project came to teach us how to farm the maize. Actually, even the variety that they brought to us is a good variety.
Maize planting in the northern region should be done between early June and July 10th, based on the onset of rains. Early maturing varieties such as Doji and Wandata can be planted up to the end of July. For good growth and yields, plant maize in rows using planting lines. The spacing between rows will depend on the maize variety to be planted. For early and medium maturing varieties, plant at a spacing of 75 centimeters between rows and 40 centimeters between plants. For late maturity varieties, plant at a spacing of 80 centimeters between rows and 40 centimeters between plants. Prepared planting holes should be about 5 centimeters deep, with 2 seeds planted per hole. Planted maize seeds should be lightly covered with soil.
When you plant in lines, you are able to control your weeds as well as pests and diseases of the crops. So planting in line is helpful than just planting at random. We also give them the right planting distance that will give them optimum crop population. And for this medium variety, which is the Sanzalsima, we use the planting distance of 75 inter-rows and 40 centimeters intra-row. So it is 75 by 40. And we have shown the farmers how to get these distances accurately in their farms. And this will help them to control or to keep the optimum plant population required in their farms.
I'm a farmer who was planting my crop anyhow. I dibbled anyhow, I plow and the lands anyhow. But from 2020, as 4R project came, we learned more. And this year, the year 2021, I practiced their principles. So first of all, the tractor plow for me, but unfortunately they have no harrower to go and harrow for me, but I use hoe to broadcast it and measure with the roof, the garden lines. I measure the principles of 4R project, which is 75 centimeters in between the lines, 40 centimeters in between the crops.
Enti masaso maklawa na saso ndaka for aya bati for aya bedana motami taga kwe tuapna trata akwana lenya leka nga yengmi leka bui
for yesu anema bebre efri omo ho na tam na ye ankasa ye don ye kose ye kwakodu agura na ye duano basa. But omama yati asese say yenduano line by line senia ebeya yebetimi anya no dodo
ndo baka katele pi ko boli mi ya to nga yung mi ko bol to ya ma akti te kan na ngampam na pa problem tete ka ndan bugala be ni yasa ke tenga te baratel to fu le to lan ka bala de titena ka nga lamba mo kalau betul barang kat tak kursi tengah nak kandang ngai, kalau akan tuju nopun, kalau kada bebang kai.
For good maize yields, fertilizer application should be based on the 4 R's of fertilizer management to ensure that the maize crop is supplied with the right source of fertilizer, applied at the right rate, at the right time in the growing season, and at the right place where the growing plants can easily assess nutrients supplied. The first fertilizer application is referred to as basal application and should be conducted at about 14 days after planting. This should be done when the soil is moist to enhance the dissolving of applied nutrients in the soil, as this allows for faster uptake of nutrients. At this stage, the right source of fertilizer for maize are compound fertilizers that supply all primary macronutrients, namely nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Good examples in northern Ghana are NPK 15-15-15 and NPK 25-10-10. Multi-nutrient fertilizers that supply secondary macronutrients such as sulfur, calcium, and magnesium, and micronutrients such as zinc, boron, in addition to NPK, are also a good source at planting or shortly after planting. An example is NPK 11-22-21 plus 5 sulfur, 0.72 zinc, 0.5 boron, which additionally supplies crops with sulfur, zinc, and boron. Application of multi-nutrient fertilizers that additionally supply secondary and micronutrients has been shown to give the best maize yields in northern Ghana.
With the maize, the first fertilizer application is recommended to be from the second week, that is from the 14th day after planting, and it shouldn't go beyond 21 days, that is over the third week. So just estimate your planting where you have adequate moisture for fertilizer application. You apply it within the 14 to 21 days after planting.
Ntin kalmaya benum bulun kalmaya bon ke wi ku pini nada ngata blinyoya ta de we sa kalmaya ka to bulya wi ku pini na ka be yonyo ke talabel mun mota ya mo ke tale ka jirke ka ba le galanga nga na ta bulu ne nti ya so kama ka beti gurpa kalmaya anyi ka ya bulu wi ku pini nada blanti nyo ada to ne ka nganyo ka ji ka ban le galanga nga la ta bulu ne ka bi nyoya bo
o ma kire senia fertilizer no yabe apply no wodua abruno a the first fertilizer no 14 days na why you use bottle lid no e dia ma ube botokro wo the fertilizer no guma na wa cover.
They taught us how to apply fertilizer in the right time and then at the right rate, at the right place and the right source. So from day 1 of planting up to 14 days, which is 2 weeks, then we apply the first application.
For our tip, to determine the number and quantity of nutrients supplied by a particular fertilizer, check the nutrient content as labeled on the fertilizer bag. The nutrient content of any fertilizer is usually indicated on the bag's label as a series of numbers. The first 3 numbers always refer to the primary nutrients, into bracket N, P, and K. If any other nutrients are present, additional numbers are given, followed by their chemical symbols. For example, a fertilizer bag labeled 15-20-20 5S 0.5B contains 15% nitrogen, 20% phosphorus as P2O5, 20% potassium as K2O, 5% sulfur, and 0.5% boron. Right rate during first fertilizer application. For good maize yields, it's recommended to apply 1.5 to 3 bags of selected compound or blended NPK fertilizer for each acre crop with maize. The amount of fertilizer to be applied will depend on the specific characteristics of the field where maize is being grown and on the farmer's target yield. For example, fields that have been cultivated for a long time with minimal application of fertilizer or manure are often less fertile and require more quantities of fertilizers. Fields that have only recently been converted to farmland or usually have large quantities of manure applied are often more fertile and require lower quantities of fertilizers. Higher maize yields targets require more nutrients to be supplied, hence higher fertilizer application rates. To ensure the application of equal quantities of fertilizer at each planting stand, farmers can use locally available soda bottle tops to measure and apply equal quantities of fertilizer. Generally, 1 full-level soda bottle top contains about 5 grams of fertilizer, while a half full of soda bottle top contains about 2.5 grams of fertilizer. Right placement of fertilizer. To ensure a right placement of basal fertilizer, create small holes about 5 centimeters from the plant using a stick. To uniformly apply 1.5 bags of fertilizer in a 1 acre field, apply 1 full bottle top next to each planting stand. To apply 3 bags of fertilizer in 1 acre field, apply 2 full bottles top next to each planting stand. After applying the fertilizer, cover it with soil to prevent loss of nutrients.
Tanam japa sa fata sa jam mele tanam bi fata sala tanan ni ka fata sa ada fata de bliga taman ni ka bliga ni ba mo la se ne bi ne ka wacho tanu fata sa nam futu bi nyimu ba nyuna nyuma fo area mo tumina ka to chong aka bu ka bi na ne tete me pa na macha ka ma ngana ba ka ma mini ka jire tanan jam me yapina.
So in applying the fertilizer also, we were told that we should dibble and then put the fertilizer inside, then cover it, because the urea is full of air. If we didn't dibble and put it inside and cover it, the air will take the strength away, and then the sun, when the sun hits it, it will also take it away.
Applying fertilizer 5 centimeters away from the plant prevents the fertilizer from contacting and damaging the plant as the fertilizer dissolves. Second fertilizer application. The second fertilizer application is referred to the top dressing and should be applied at 6 weeks after planting. During top dressing, maize plants require to take up nitrogen in large quantities for good growth and grain development. The right source of fertilizers at top dressing are therefore straight fertilizers that are rich in nitrogen, such as urea. Urea fertilizer has round granules that are white in color. Urea contains the highest proportion of nitrogen, 46% nitrogen. In addition to urea, different fertilizer companies have developed special multi-nutrient fertilizers for top dress application in maize that are rich in nitrogen. Consult your local extension officer or fertilizer company agronomist for advice on other multi-nutrient fertilizers available in your local market for top dressing. Weed or spray the field very well before top dressing fertilizer application, as weeds compete with the maize plants for nutrients.
The top up or the top dressing, which is the second fertilizer application, will come 6 weeks after planting or 4 weeks after the first fertilizer application. So these are the various times that we are demonstrating to farmers.
Na second fertilizer no so unya 6 weeks no abo second fertilizer no oho no ebema abrunu atimi anyi akese.
And what I've learned is how to apply fertilizer under the maize. To apply, you dig a hole, use a cover of a bottle before you apply it. After that, you cover it.
And then the 2 weeks, I want to apply the fertilizer, which is NPK. So after 3 weeks, I want to unweed it. And then the 6 weeks, I want to apply the top dressing, which is urea.
Top dressing should be done when the soil is moist to enhance the dissolving of applied nutrients in the soil, as this allows for faster uptake of nutrients. If after 6 weeks after planting maize, the soil is very dry, delay the top dress fertilizer application until some rains are received.
This shouldn't have been the stage of the maize that we're supposed to apply it. It should have been done 6 weeks after planting. But because of lack of moisture, because of the drought, we delayed the application. At this stage, it needs much nutrients, especially nitrogen, which is very, very important. Because this time it is tasseling. The crop is coming. And if the crop comes, it takes a lot of the nutrients. And if there's no adequate moisture, whatever nutrient we put under it, it cannot make good use of it.
To ensure a right placement of fertilizer at top dressing, make small holes about 5 centimeters from the plant using a stick. Use a bottle top or other small container to apply 1 bottle or equal amount of fertilizer next to each plant. and then cover it with soil. For our tip, basal fertilizer should be procured a few weeks before the planting period so as to ensure timely application when planting starts. In cases where the nutrient source is a bulk blended multi-nutrient fertilizer, the blend should be mixed thoroughly to ensure proper distribution of the granules in every fertilizer scoop. Fertilizer applications should be avoided during periods of very heavy rainfall to avoid washing away of applied nutrients. 4 are tips for management of maize plants. At 10 days after planting, check for gaps along the rows and plant additional seeds to fill any gaps. After germination, protect young plants from attack by rodents and birds using local methods. Regularly scout for pest and disease infestations by walking through the farm in a zigzag pattern every week. Perforated leaves, presence of larvae, egg clusters or insects on maize leaves are all indicators of pest infestation. Discolored leaves and small stunned plants may be indicators of nutrient deficiency or disease infestation. Farmers should consult local AEAs for assistance with interpreting any sign. Weeds reduce the growth and yield of maize by competing for nutrients, water, and light. For best yields, maize fields should be kept weed-free by conducting timely weeding at regular intervals. If weeds are actively growing in the field at planting, spray non-selective herbicides such as glyphosate or paraquat. Before applying any herbicide, carefully read and follow instructions provided by the manufacturer or consult your local AEA. Improvement of soil fertility through the application of fertilizers or manure also helps to reduce trigger infestation. Harvesting and storage. Harvesting should be done as soon as the maize crop is mature and dry. At harvesting, maize grains are usually not fully dry and have a moist content of about 15 to 20%. Immediately after harvesting, cobs should be dried so as to reduce the grain moisture content to about 10 to 12% in readiness for storage. Storing unhusked maize is not recommended as it is very difficult to detect insect infestations. Well-dried and shelled maize should be treated with recommended storage chemicals and stored in jute sacks lined with polythene bags. Common storage chemicals include acrylic 25 EC or aluminium phosphide, example, phostoxin and gastoxin.
I'm Lukman Salifu, the cooperative manager for East Gonja Zone. Post-management losses have been one of our major challenges. Most of our farmers, after harvesting, it becomes an issue. And then what we do as a cooperative, what we have started doing is sensitization. We went around to sensitize them on the availability of our silo services. As you can see behind me, we have a very nice silo that we've cleaned in there, fumigated it with our pallets.
As a project to reduce post-harvest losses on our brownfield days, we included post-harvest management in the trainings, where we trained all the farmers who participated on the field days to properly dry their produce according to standard moisture required for each of the crops. After they have dried it, and then they thresh it on a very clean ground, either on a patio or on a tapoli, they are required to mobilize the produce to the warehouse.
Yo, bibe nyoma Joshua. For arasia wa dana motume tukwa atun. Tumukwe tukwa kake ba motume yeto wanyala kititime. Ba motume pele yake tia kwe kaya karawa anka. Ni yake tia blanka ko tete kawana kade bel challenge ka kwa bena. Kadele no ku ni ya kuga na ma puona Utak bara buye warehouse woni. Laga tede bina ngape ila poli to ta gba bi. Ati amade ko ko ta nyampunyana.
Bagged maize should be transported to a warehouse for safe storage, kept away from the wall. Maize can be sold through farmer cooperatives for competitive prices. Consult your zonal crop managers for more information. Monies can be sent to the credit union for safekeeping.
To give our farmers high value markets, we are bringing the produce together so that we can attract the higher value buyers. At this point, in many cases, farmers are suffering from the standardized weighing or selling of their produce. Some of them are selling in volumes, and even with these volumes, the bowls that they are using are not the same. The project has acquired weighing skills for the silos. Before you bring your produce in, they are weighed and standardized. You know how many kilos you have in the silo, so that when we are selling, you know how much you are collecting as a value for your produce in the warehouse.
We negotiated with some high value buyers. Then they told us that most of the times the challenges they have with our produce, or most of our farmers' produce, is that the produce are not of good quality. So we engaged the farmers, told them that whenever you harvest, you have to make sure that you thresh it, then clean it well before we store it. After storage, then we now engage the buyers, the high value buyers, to come and inspect the produce before we now do what? Sell it to them. So currently we are embarking on produce aggregation. We've aggregated some in our silo, but the exercise is still in progress. What we aim at is to run these cooperatives even after 4R project.
Whether the 4R project go or they are still with us, I will never go back to the practice I used to practice for the years. I will continue to practice 4R project principles because it is helpful.
Sanya.